easier. All right.
Sorry.
We're there.
Sylvain, Jim, Pedro, Fabrizio, and Frank. There you go. All right. Welcome back. If you were here yesterday as well, you know I will try to get as much as I can out of 5 people, huge topic, and 1 million questions here. Let's start with very briefly what this panel is about. It's about technology trends, and of course it's about technology trends in pay TV, so we'll discuss set-top boxes and legacy systems and all that, but I want to reserve some time at the end of this panel to really look forward a little bit, because this is such a technology year. I mean, everything happening in AI, machine learning is going to affect a lot of the media industry as well, so at the end I'll reserve some time for that and, you know, leave my papers here and just watch it. Let's start with a round of introductions so that we understand who we have here. We have a wealth of experience in the technology field. There's a lot of people here that were at the forefront of technology developments over the last few years. And let's understand where they are in the system. Sylvain, NetGem.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, you are the managing director there. NetGem has been there for many years. You help broadcasters, operators. Explain a little bit what you do.
Yes, so NetGem has been providing innovative TV solutions, mostly for operators over more than 25 years. We have been working, obviously, trying to be ahead of the game to create interesting solutions that operators can market. So over the years, of course, we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen the evolution of the business models, the technology, and of course, the content landscape. And the challenges that we see with the operators is obviously fueling our innovation roadmap. And we have a number of things that we'll be happy to share.
And just NetGem offers all the technology to operators, which also means that when there's new tech or when there's new developments, you advise the operators, you help the operators, and this will come back throughout this whole session.
So we have essentially evolved from being really much tech-centric, set-top box-centric, 20 years plus ago, to having to create a full TV solutions for operators that includes 3 components. Obviously, the technology at the core of it, some element of content expertise, and in some cases, like France and the UK, even content sourcing, as with content-dedicated teams, and also operations to ensure that you can provide quality of service for operators.
Yeah, all right. I mean, this will come back as well because we have a technology landscape where people partner, work together in different ways, and where the innovation is taking place at different levels all the time as well. Jim, Velocix, CEO out there, cloud TV oriented, right? Oh, you're over there.
Oh.
All right,
Tricky.
I'll make you number 4. There you go. Jim, tell us what you do.
Okay, I'm CEO of Velocix. We provide streaming technology and CDN into the market. Many of the operators that are here today use some of the technology that we provide to stream video to consumers. So we've been serving the pay TV market since 2001, really early in the IP video space. And so today we've been out there talking about cloud and how operators are migrating from on-premises infrastructure into cloud infrastructure and how to do that cost effectively.
Because that's one of the biggest developments, in your view, taking place right now.
Correct.
Or has been going on for a few years already, right? I mean,
Correct, yeah.
New.
And there's some back pressure to some of that cloud migration just due to some of the costs and challenges of scale as we start to see the volume of content continue to rise on the IP side. Those are the kinds of issues that we address with our customers, is trying to figure out how do we do this cost effectively, how do we scale it out reliably, and transition from some of these legacy technologies which had some advantages to the way that they worked. When we move into the IP environment, the advantages are different. Yeah. And so it's a matter of balancing the advantages of both the traditional environments.
Let's come back to those legacy systems because it's a huge part of the whole innovation stack in technology. Well, let's go right to the end. Frank, you're an operator now. Well, you have always been, but go ahead, explain.
Thank you, Dominique. So, as Vodafone, we are a huge operator. We are operating.
You're head of TV product. And
we have a huge TV product. We have a huge customer base of cable TV. And we are actually now exactly in the process, as Jim was describing, to transition our technology from the traditional cable TV towards IP. Yeah. And exactly defining now the right pace for us in order to use our leverage also in the legacy technology and combine this with the speed of IP delivery and OTT delivery.
Okay,
Exactly the space
going from legacy to all, you've done this before at other companies as well. You work in this space for many, many years.
Yeah.
Is this a super important year for those developments, or we're on track, we're going there?
This and next year is, especially if we look at one of our biggest markets, Germany, an important year, where we have a lot of regulatory change as well. Yeah. But there is also a captive base in cable, which is a very interesting base we have in place today. Yeah. Where we see also a benefit for customers to keep that technology.
So there are reasons to not change so fast, actually. Yeah. All right, we'll come back to that as well. Pedro, tell us, VP Product and New Business at Deutsche Telekom, your previous and now.
Yes. We know each other very well.
We know
he was at Deutsche Telekom for many, many years, and now you are there. Tell us what you're doing.
So I have been in Deutsche Telekom now for 5 years. So I'm responsible for home, TV, and entertainment on the product side. So this includes broadband, smart home, as well as TV. As you know, Deutsche Telekom in Europe, we operate in 11 markets with TV products in 10 out of those 11 markets. We have been an operator that, because of historical reasons, have started our TV services over multiple access technologies. So we run it on cable, on GPON, on DSL, on FWA. So that actually led us from a very early stage to move away from legacy distribution technologies. And we are, I would say, midway through this transition phase in terms of moving to this full unicast approach, like Frank was mentioning, and our colleagues at Vodafone are doing the same. But because we started from a different starting point, we are actually more advanced in that area.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, yes, please.
So very similar in Switzerland for Sunrise, we're basically responsible for the entire infrastructure, entertainment, and in-home also, from the platform services, head-end distribution, so contribution distribution, up to the set-top box hardware, and as well as the gateway, the routers in-home connected to the set-top box, as well as similar. In fact, we had a similar adjacent experience in Austria, where we were also operating before going to sell to Deutsche Telekom. Sunrise belongs to Liberty Global family. So we also come with a combination of multiple infrastructure accesses. So we come from the base on the cable, on the HFC, but as well we have XGS-PON, we have DSL, fiber. Yeah. Therefore, we take advantage of owning the infrastructure on the cable and having a large base on that for the entertainment services. But at the same time, we are in the middle of the transition because we offer the same product, full IP, where HFC cable is not reaching.
Yeah. For the end consumer, it doesn't matter how it gets delivered, but for this, you all have to work out how it gets done, cost effectively, with open innovation and so forth. So let's talk first about the evolution of traditional TV in this landscape and the place of the set-top box, because that's one of those big things happening. Are we keeping them, leaving them? Let's talk about legacy distribution. I mean, we've over the last 30 years, there's a whole landscape build up. There's cables, there's set-top boxes, there's habits that people have. Who says let's just not move too quickly? Let's focus first on what we have because it works so well and keep it as long as possible. That's a really valid point to take as a trend in technology.
For us, it's absolutely the way. At the end of the day, the customer, for the operator, the customer doesn't care what is the technology this is behind. From our side, we have, a large base on that. We own the technology, and definitely QAM on the cable is reliable and much more controllable. So we control end-to-end, we can control the quality, we can make the customers happy there. It doesn't mean that we do not start migration, but the way we do it is such that we can control the investment on capacity. If we do step function, we overload the IP on fiber nodes, so therefore, let's say we need to make it. The majority of the traffic runs on the top 20 to top 40 channels. Yeah. So until we keep the long tail on the IP and we stay on the QAM, on the top viewer, on the linear aspect, there is really no urgency. So we have quite a longevity there. Doesn't mean that we are not in the middle of the transition, as said. And in
So
certain area, we have
if
full
you are in
IP.
this transition, do you then pick out small regions where you already start implementing new models? Or?
We cover, at the end, our purpose of working in the FMC, in the fixed mobile convergence, we want the customers enter in a shop and don't care where he lives. If there are regions where there is no cable at all, we offer full IP solution. So
yeah.
we have a fantastic, let's say, product on the full IP. We already moved in the full IP.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that where it is possible to offer QAM, so the legacy, or where the customers are still on the legacy product, we need to push them away. They will not be convenient and will not improve the quality of the customer experience.
Yeah. What about for Vodafone?
So as you said, for a customer, it doesn't count how he gets the TV. It needs to be working and it needs to be in excellent quality. And as we have the situation that we need to deliver TV everywhere to our customers, and customers simply expect that they can watch TV on all devices and watch TV in a seamless way. So our network is partly DVB cable-based and partly IP-based, and this is our way forward. And in the end, customers, as said, don't care how they get TV. They want to have a stable service in excellent quality.
Yeah, and they don't care how, but for Vodafone, are you also keeping the legacy systems there as long as they work well and don't interrupt what works?
Exactly. Actually, DVB-C cable works super well for customers. It's stable. It doesn't have any outages. So this is the benefit of this technology.
Yeah.
It's much less risk to have interruptions. So there's a benefit for our customers, and that's the reason why we keep it. And especially when we look on the traffic and the viewership, there are 40, 50 main channels which have the captive user base every evening at the busy hours. So that makes sense to leverage this technology. And then on the set-top box side, I think there's some benefit for us as an operator, but also for the customer, to have an experience where an operator provides a very good user experience and aggregating the content of the OTT world and of the linear world.
Yeah, I still, after 30 years, sometimes get amazed how fast networks can be. My son was here with me this weekend, and he's a video editor, and he wanted to download a 30 gigabyte file and it was no way we could get it done on the network in the Airbnb we were staying at. So he just put a T-Mobile phone, connected it, and he downloaded a 30 gigabyte file. And there was no problem at all, and it didn't cost anything either. Is that not amazing? I'm still stunned with how fast networks can be. If you look at this integration towards IP-based service, Fabrizio, you are convinced it's all going to be IP, right?
We are already on that path. So it's more than being convinced. We are doing that. So going back to your original question, so we decided to commercially migrate our customers to an IP-only product several years back. As of right now, the vast majority of our countries are already doing that. A customer today that does a commercial transaction, that buys a new TV product, gets by default the only product that is available. It's an IP-only product. And that for us has several advantages. The first one is that it's completely agnostic of the distribution network. So yeah. I do understand what my colleagues that are coming from a cable background say regarding taking advantage of cable distribution being there, but if you are running multiple networks at the same time and you don't want to expose your customer to the complexity of the actual access technology, you should have an access agnostic product. Yeah. So that's what we have with an IP distribution product. It also helps us very much in terms of moving forward the product. So one of the big topics is OTT integration and having a seamless OTT integration of the players that we saw previously. If I do that, let's call it in a more legacy environment with old school set-top boxes, yes, it can be done, but it takes a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort compared with what you do if you are on an IP-only environment. So it brings simplicity to our process in terms of development and in terms of product innovation. So faster to innovate. And because we are on the same, let's call it on the same approach as OTT players, we also are able to leverage the scale effects. And this happens both on the software side as well as on the hardware side. So one of the trends that I think it's very, very interesting is that contrary to what's happening on the broadband side for other reasons in which CPE costs continue to go up, here is the other way around. So set-top box costs, they go down. And they go down if you are on the right setup in terms of development. And that for us is very, very clear. An IP and let's call it standard software approach for product development for TV.
All right, so set-top box. I think all of you have opinions about set-top boxes, non-set-top boxes. I mean, in the mobile world, it's of course eSIMs or SIMs or getting. I mean, the whole infrastructure of going to a company and getting a SIM card and getting it sent to us versus let's make it all digital. But what about set-top boxes, non-set-top boxes? Who wants to describe the trend here and the decisions based on that trend? Let's go with you first.
Okay. Well, I mean, clearly, I think there's an advantage in the operator having a set-top box to try to control the experience, but I think that's
No,
not, yeah,
gone.
I think that's gone.
It's
yeah,
over.
I think that's gone, right? So over time, consumers have gotten used to this idea that they don't need to be on a specific device to gain access to content, and the advantages from a consumer standpoint, I think, are limited. I think they really don't know what's under the covers, and they don't care. But at the end of the day, if you stream Netflix on your phone, it's relatively reliable relative to the kinds of things that you see through set-top box-based experiences. So from our perspective, it just seems like moving toward IP is the right thing. There's some interest in preserving capital, right? So there's investments.
Yeah, but you can move to IP and still have a set-top box, right? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can have an IP set-top, but we look at it as this big heterogeneous world where you have a bunch of different devices and you can stream different formats. And it really is an expertise on the part of the operator in learning that world and how to deliver it as reliably as some of these legacy technologies. And it's like, I always look at corollaries in markets. You look at electric cars versus gas cars, and you say, if you were a car manufacturer and you're not investing in electric cars right now and saying, well, gas cars are here to stay, well, that's probably not the right model, right? You need to gain some expertise in it. Not everything is transitioning instantaneously, but the more of an expert you are in IP video, the better off you're going to be down the road.
Sylvain, what do you think?
I think fragmentation clearly is both a challenge and an opportunity for operators. If operators still want to have a role to play going forward, they'll have to provide some level of added value to the end user, to the consumer. And that's going to be about the ability to provide an aggregation service that is easy to discover content, where the content is delivered with the right quality of service and with added benefit of, in some cases, add to bill. So the ability to essentially, we've seen the trend in terms of SVOD services charged to the bill as well. So I see that as the sort of the challenge of the three multiple. There's multiple sources, multiple devices, and multiple business models. Within that, I think there's opportunity, and we believe that we work with 30+ operators around Europe to actually carve out the space that makes sense for the end consumer to benefit from a consistent experience across devices, and the set-top box is one of the devices, and arguably still play an important role because it helps both the migration from legacy to new technology, as has been discussed here, as well as providing a consistent, that's the only way to provide really a consistent experience from the HDMI 1, to be honest. So, but you have to recognize that some consumer segments, the younger ones, will be more happy to play on their laptop, MacBook, tablets. Tablets is for all people, in fact, smartphones, and so on and so on. So the operator can play a role, and to be fair, it's down to the operator to actually find ways to add value. If the operator can't add value beyond a simple smart TV experience, that may be the case.
If I
Yeah, sure.
Let's say, from operator point of view again, is indeed the customer must not be loaded by the hassle of what is the access behind, but the same things we want to offer to the customers whatever they want in whatever ambient. So the set-top box for us is as another advantage, although we see the future being hiding, behind, let's say, the more simple boxless situation. But the set-top box bound the customer to the operator. It's an aggregator of experience, It doesn't mean that it needs to be only entertainment. We look at adjacent businesses. We can offer added value services. We can aggregate and bundle in the commercial offers also the direct to consumer. But it's not only that. It's music, it's gaming, it's everything. But above all,
it's the whole connectivity in the house sometimes.
It gives the opportunity to connect. And if we control also as operator the in-home connectivity, we have the possibility to improve the quality of experience through the set-top box. And for a certain segment, a portion of the customers that are more, let's say, more aged, put in this way, it's still representing a media center in the living room. So until we can have this, we will keep offering it, and we will be recognized, and we will invest in less churn and more loyalty. Doesn't mean that we will not offer pure OTT, but we offer the OTT companion to the set-top box, so that you can keep watching like a profile in Netflix. You can be watching your recording on the tablet, swiping on the TV through the same ecosystem. So for us, it's not anymore a set-top box versus OTT. It's the ecosystem as an operator.
Where everything comes together.
Exactly.
And in a way also for the consumer, a sort of understanding that there's something there that is at the center of the whole media world, right? I mean, I don't know how about your households, but in mine, I think we have the Apple box, we have 4 or 5 things standing there, and then we have subscriptions, and you know, it's becoming a very confusing world for consumers to completely understand where things are. I mean, and then you have your bills, and you have your phone, and it's very complicated, but the way you now all make it sound, it's almost, well, this is a client relation thing, a customer relations thing, because some of the other things seem almost like engineering problems, right? It's like, how do we get the connectivity? How do we serve all the services? So, and there's a constellation, because you have operators that do it themselves, you have operators that outsource it. Where does the innovation take place in this world? Is it, the bigger operators can develop their own innovations also when it comes to new services and new technology innovations. The smaller ones probably will outsource much more of it, and then it's the suppliers that innovate. I mean, just talk to Vodafone and T-Mobile, because you're so big, you do your own innovation, right? You set it up to do it yourself. Frank, maybe you can tell a little bit about that.
Exactly. We are investing quite a lot of money into innovations, into new features, and also aggregating additional technologies like video delivery, IP delivery, but also in basically developing new services, better experiences, and adding what you just mentioned, also additional contents, and make it seamlessly available to our customers through our operator box.
And could you mention an innovation that you're working on, or that has been done by your organization? Oh, but no? Wrong question? It's not here, but...
We're looking into different areas of adding new content, and it was already mentioned on that panel. I think the trend goes away from video only towards more entertainment, making available entertainment contents, be it gaming, be it music, in an aggregated way, in one user experience.
Content as part of the world that
it's more than video in the future, that's for sure. But also, as it was mentioned as well, we need to make available our services, our content, our TV services to as much devices as possible in order to stay relevant. Customers expect that we can serve everywhere our TV service, not only the box, but there are also customer segments, this was also mentioned, which are more on using apps than a set-top box. And this is feeding different usage patterns, different user and consumer needs by addressing a whole lot of different devices and touch points for customers.
And what is the, I mean, maybe it's an obvious question. I mean, I remember, it doesn't feel long ago, but it is that, we had set-top boxes and you could buy movies and it was just clunky, and the second Netflix came into the market, everybody upgraded, everybody started innovating, everybody got better user interfaces and so forth. So what is it outside of the world of pay TV and set-top boxes that makes you change? I mean, is it TikTok, or is it mobile experiences, or?
It's not only mobile experiences, it's also inventing new ways of interacting with our service. So we recently launched a soundbox, a far-field soundbox in Portugal, where customers can control it with their voice. So your TV follows your voice command and is no longer, no longer need to search for my remote control. I can just tell my TV to switch on that channels, to start Netflix, to search for content. This is a completely new way of interacting with our TV service.
And what do people then start shouting at the remote control?
You don't need to shout on your remote control, you just say it in the room. So it's no longer pressing a button, you say just the wake-up word, and your TV follows your voice command. So this is something we have been recently launching and quite successfully.
In-house innovation as well, I mean, using tools, of course, from everywhere.
Yeah.
And that innovation we do with partners as well, which is, I think, an important ingredient of our work.
You want to answer as well, and you as well, and you as well. So there you go. You go first, and then you. Yes, go.
So I would like to connect this point in terms of innovation with the previous point in terms of set-top boxes and what is the future of set-top boxes for operators. And Sylvian was talking about risks and opportunities. And there are indeed risks and opportunities in this area. From an operator perspective, the opportunity is to answer the question, why do we use set-top boxes? It's not because we want to use them, it's because we need to have them to deliver our full experience that we all know is a super aggregation experience. And for that, we need to be not one of the apps in the ecosystem, like we are today in the smart TV ecosystem, but we need to be the app that is in control. The risk or the challenge is if you look at the UI from Tizen, from LG, WebOS today, and compare it with what it was 3-4 years ago, the difference is huge. They are becoming very, very good in terms of user experience. They are also becoming very, very good in terms of doing aggregation. By the way, exactly what we want to do, what we need to do to survive. Yeah. So how do we bring together the risk and the opportunity? That's where the innovation can happen. And that's one of the things that we have publicly said that we are working on, is on bringing our full experience, a set-top box-like experience. So it's not an app, it's the same thing that you have on your set-top box on a third-party TV. That for the big screen in the home is indeed a game changer for us in terms of competition for the future. Another piece that I think it's also very important in terms of innovation, Frank was mentioning voice. It's how do we bring voice to the next level in terms of content discovery. Voice is there to help you control content and discover content. We are, let's call it in phase 1 of using voice for this. Let's call it quote statements, ask for something, get something. The next wave is when you use large language models to actually have conversations that helps you discover content. That's coming. We are literally 9-12 months away from having something like that available for TV consumers.
Yeah, and for those new types of services, you work with the ChatGPTs of the world, or you develop your own?
So we need to customize the models, of course, because the models are very generic. If you take the default model, it will not work at all based on what you expect. So you need to pick up the model, you need to work with them, and you need to customize the model for your specific target.
Yeah. No, just mentioning, because in the Netherlands, it was just announced that they're going to, 4 different institutions are going to develop an open Dutch large language model, because it's a very specific language, it's very small, so they do their own, and then anybody can use it. It's a public service. You wanted to respond as well.
Yeah, so when we talk about innovation, obviously there's customer-facing innovation and the experience and so on, but there's also innovation behind the scenes from a business perspective inside the operators, and it's all about delivering quality and cost effectiveness in terms of delivery at scale, right? So what we see in the streaming business, you can look at a lot of the OTT operators, and you see that obviously traffic is rising, but a lot of those businesses are losing money as they grow, right? And part of the challenge as an operator is trying to figure out how do you compete in this landscape and offer a service that you can do profitably. And if you have an ecosystem that you can build that's more cost effective, I mean, over time, you're obviously going to run a better business.
So
make investments.
obviously from the point of view of your company, but you would argue that for some operators, outsourcing some of the innovation actually makes sense because the cost involved for innovation.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's outsourcing, right? In the sense that vendors like us work in partnership. So things don't just spontaneously happen. We coordinate with folks at this table and try to figure out, number one, what are the benchmarks we're trying to hit, and what are the timetables we're trying to hit, and what are the technologies that we want to infuse into those platforms in order to drive those kinds of cost savings. And consumers may be none the wiser, but the idea is they want to do it as inexpensively as possible, but deliver the best experience that they can. And that's the advantage that many of these operators who own their own networks have an advantage over OTT providers because they own that last mile of the network. And so the question there is, how do they run a TV kind of platform, pay TV platform, more cost effectively than an OTT operator would, and provide a similar or better experience? Because ultimately they'll run a much better business that way. And in fact, there may be opportunities for some of these OTT providers that are now paying through the nose to deliver content to end consumers in partnering with some of the pay TV providers and trying to leverage some of that same infrastructure and talent that has been placed in some of those systems in trying to enhance some of the OTT delivery.
And that's a typical innovation thing, right? This goes and then comes back together, it's reorganized, the stack becomes a new stack, and then everybody consolidates. And you two also want to respond.
On the partnership point, I think, as I mentioned before, the multiple aspect of we talked about multiple sources, of which would create challenges in terms of quality experience. Obviously, when you have sources from your own network versus OTT sources, multiple devices, we cover that. But the multiple business model is an interesting one, as in fact, the models have evolved quite radically. It was much easier 20 years ago, where we were supplying SFR with essentially a nice set-top box with a nice UI, and all they had to do was to actually license the content, channels, and a bit of VOD on top. So you had your licensing model with MGs and your CPS, you could run the numbers and that's it. Now you've got a multiplicity of business models, which the operators are facing. Working with the Netflix, Amazon Prime, they all have different, those two themselves have different objectives in effect behind their models and what they expect to in the partnership with the operators. And that's why we believe the operators, I think, would benefit a lot from partnering more and more to expand the remit of the entertainment service in the home, as we discussed, not only to keep building the ecosystem that has been referred to, but also to create more hooks for the customer to stay loyal to the operator service. So to that extent, we built this year essentially an evolution, which essentially is an add-on to any TV service, which we have called Immersive TV with Cloud Gaming. Essentially, is bringing cloud gaming as an element of content as part of the operator ecosystem. So it's not breaking the operator ecosystem, it gets inserted in the operator ecosystem, and it's treated as essentially another source of content. For all intents and purposes, it's another streaming technology that is actually used with a device in the home where you have to control the quality of service and some infrastructure as well. But it's seen as another piece of content that the customer can enjoy.
It's gaming as an additional service on your TV set. What is the interaction mode there?
So the way we've conceived it is that to make sure that it's completely blended within the TV user experience. So you don't need to go inside an app sitting somewhere, open it, login, password, and so on. In fact, the content, the titles, get presented as part of the UI. So let's see that there's a Formula One on Sunday afternoon, Grand Prix, and immediately after, you are offered to actually play the Formula One on Formula GP there. Similarly.
But how do you play? I mean, is it remote control?
Exactly.
Or is it...
So you take any remote control that you can find. The operator can be and should be part of providing the remote control, which are very cost effective now. Or you can use any Bluetooth gamepad that you can find online. That's it goes from 10 euros to 40 euros anyway, and that gives you an expansion of the experience that creates a bit more interactivity, and that's what we call it immersive TV. But the key point here is that it's done in partnership, as in we're not expecting the operator to have to actually invest in the licensing of the content, in bringing infrastructure. It's actually brought as a package, and we believe that's an example of new services that the operators can benefit from, whereby the operators can expand the remit of entertainment without having to actually build everything from scratch.
From our side, the innovation is very much close to both sides, from how to efficiency in the cost in the delivery, the entertainment, the content. Therefore, let's say we are moving to the cloud, we are moving in the private cloud, and more we will move in the public cloud, both the back office, both the storage. The largest investment are in the storage platform. Of course, if we go in the public and we pay as for use, that it becomes much more effective. We start sharing partnership even with the competitors for those part of the platforms that can be shared, the contribution part, the satellites, on the behind the scene, as said. And then on the user experience, the full content discovery is the new frontier of the innovation, utilizing AI, machine learning, independently, or let's say also with the utilization of the interactive way, but is very much about how to make the personalization of the experience advanced through the new technology. That is where the battle is. We take advantage of Liberty Global, of let's say the research and the development in that area, and going back and connecting to the set-top box versus OTT, not being one of the app, means that we become a super aggregator. We bring the apps, and the challenge there is the metadata integration, so that with the evolution of the content discovery, we can offer similar to Tides and similar to WebOS, to the user entering in that portal, and the easiest way to get advantage of the content he wants to have. That is where we are pushing the boundaries, or we see the future.
All right, so you have this stack with the infrastructure, the networks, and then the apps and the aggregation platform and the UI, and everybody involved in that wants to be the prime contact to the end consumer because they want to get the data to build new services.
Also because it's very differentiated. You cannot have one fit all. So a very, let's say, old person going home wants to see the linear EPG, and it does not. It's confused to have something more fancy. Young boy, my son, go home, want to have a personalized home where are the best watched movies or games or music. So that kind of intelligence within the technology is what we look for. And for that, we need integration of metadata.
Now, I'm looking at the time. We have about 18 minutes left, and we have the challenges of aggregation and app integration, the rise of CTV, how to stay relevant as a pay TV operator, and of course, my burning question about what you see happening in the future where AI and large models are taking over. Let's just say, who wants to say something about this need for super aggregation and app integration and the network that needs to sustain the growing demand for bandwidth? These are already 3 questions, but who wants to?
I think we've already covered some of it today.
So let's move to the next one.
But I think I would just want to develop on Fabrizio's point about the metadata aggregation. I mean, we know it's the key to ensure that you can really stay relevant for the end user and provide a full blown discovery service. When I talked about the games, we had to do quite a lot of work on the metadata to actually match gaming titles to actually movie titles or series titles. It's not something that just happens like this. So in fact, yes, more and more, there will be some increase in the complexity of the algorithm. We already have some AI recommendation at the back of it, but of course, that will continue to evolve. But the key there is to be able to provide something that stays relevant really for the end user. As I said before, if it's not relevant anymore, yes, they will just switch on their smart TV and go on Netflix. But when you are in Netflix, you are only presented recommendations from Netflix, not from what you can find on any catch-up service or from another.
And also the data within Netflix stays with Netflix. Exactly. Nobody knows.
So there is a role there to play.
I would like to say one thing regarding metadata, because it's much more than just metadata aggregation, because aggregation assumes that metadata exists. The biggest problem that we have is that the metadata that exists is mostly created by humans and not enough to correctly describe what we want to describe. So metadata creation by itself as an innovation topic is also very, very important for personalization and content discovery in the future.
And this is a field that's developing super rapidly, of course. I mean, it's the AI that can both analyze all the voices and know what's being said, but also see what's on the screen and make that.
I think-
You can say, show me all the movies that have the town of Tilburg in it at some point, because the data will be understood on a level that no human could ever metadata.
But I think it goes even beyond that, and with the risk of using some of the buzzwords, but it's true, I think, to build on your point, you will have to use some form of Gen AI, because you can't really predict what the behavior of the consumer is going to be. So you're going to have to use some of the data to feed back into the AI system. And for example, we have created a nice fast aggregation service where we bring essentially the complexity of all the fast channels to the operator in one simple interface. And that's fine, and that's working, and we're deploying in different markets. But the reality is that fast, because they address niche, if you want, segments, they need to be super relevant. And that's why you need technology that are going into Gen AI. So if you're presented with, you've watched let's say, Top Gear show, then you will want to actually show one of the sports-related, related fast channels. Because fast, you will have 200 of them in front of you. I mean, you'll get lost anyway. So it's about using
it
that
becomes
technology.
more specialized in the but I mean, we have certain silos in operating systems. It's either that or the other thing. But as for the metadata, is there sort of an industry-wide standard, or do you have silos in metadata organization as well?
No,
we're
vendors.
Okay.
But first of all, you need to get the metadata. Yeah. Of course, you need to generate proper metadata. But if you go, for instance, in the super aggregation in the set-top box, and you want to put in the set-top box Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount, etc., and you want to offer to the user, indeed,
seamless search
and
across.
A search and a recommendation engine, you need to have in the commercial agreement the capability to get this metadata and then integrate in the standards that you as a vendor, we have our vendor integrating that, and then you have the machine learning crunching that to generate the recommendation. So it's a long journey. That is the super aggregation. Integrating the set-top box, I think, let's say that it's technology engineering, we do it.
It's a challenge to get it organized
in
such a way.
It's not only a challenge, it's also a commercial and
the commercial is much bigger than
the commercial is much bigger than the technology.
From engineering point of view, the velocity, the critical path is on the commercial deal.
Yeah. And there's also commercial incentives to not share. I mean, it's not like it's in everybody's interest to share everything. No, there's real interest to not share. So that doesn't make life easier either. So, okay. Okay, bandwidth-wise, and then we'll really go to the AI. It just, as I mentioned, if you can do 30 GB on your phone, I mean, it seemed endless, right? It seems like we solved bandwidth, unless you go to a different region and then you realize you don't. I mean, I'm Dutch, so that doesn't help. I think it's solved. Is there any particular trend or challenge there to solve the whole bandwidth problem?
So I think as AI will change our daily work and our workspace, AI will also change over the next year the entertainment space. I think we can't even imagine today how much impact it could have in content discovery, in how we interact with our devices. Pedro said it a few minutes ago, we are at voice 1.0. Combining voice with large language models, with Gen AI, is something really powerful to make a difference in the customer experience, and also finding content and also discovering content. It's not only about getting something recommendation, a one-to-one recommendation, this is similar content. I really can tell a machine what I would like to watch and combine my search intent with, I want to watch a movie with my wife, and my wife had that and that, has that and that interest. So it opens a lot of new functionalities, a lot of new innovation areas.
And that would only be the interaction and selection, but then it's not far away that the particular video you see can be adapted to your preferences as well.
And then it can be...
So those interactions will be a bandwidth multiplication, because the interaction and the serving up...
And then you can even think further that I get individual contents with individual movies, which have a certain topic.
In which you act. I mean, in which you yourself are the main actor. It's not far away,
Yes.
It's not far away.
So there's a lot of space there to think about what can happen.
And before I go to you, I mean, I think it's also super interesting that it's not just a bandwidth problem, it's also an energy problem, because it's not for no reason that OpenAI is took a new nuclear company to an IPO, and Microsoft is investing in nuclear energy. I mean, whoa, this means we know we need so much more energy to have this AI services work, apart even from the
bandwidth
benefit.
is a problem.
Yeah.
He was saying, we lose money, but the bandwidth, the spectrum is going up. It's back to the problem of between the legacy versus the IP, and where we are going there. And it's true. We know we have to go there, but QAM is still efficient from bandwidth point of view. Or we take advantage on IP when we will have the proper docks instead of one, very much. Without going too much technical. Or I'm interested to know about when we are looking at multicast ABR, for instance, when we will be fully IP to optimize, let's say, the utilization versus the unicast nonlinear.
Let me do a comment on that, because that's a topic that pops up a lot. I see multicast ABR very much in the same way as I see things that I do because there is a need to do it versus do I really want to do it? Do I really want to do it? No, of course not. Because it's actually an additional complexity that I put either on the gateway or on the set-top box, depending on how I implement it, that basically forks the way that I do product development compared with what my competitors that are coming from outside this space actually do product development. But I might need to do it because of bandwidth constraints, at least for some time, at least to bridge the gap until my network in some areas is actually able to catch up. But I will try, and I'm trying to stay away as much as possible from it. But yes, it's a tool specifically for bandwidth optimization.
So capacity optimization and investment, as said before, until, QAM is intrinsically simulcast. It's a kind of a multicast. And if I jump directly on unicast on the linear, I'm killing my budget on CapEx. Right?
It's a question of money.
Yeah, I think that was one of your statements up front. Have we solved the network problem? And the answer is definitively no. With the transition from like broadcast and legacy tech into IP. IP is a personalization kind of technology, right? Every individual stream that's delivered consumes bandwidth. That was not the case with broadcast, right? You could send one,
Much better.
Yeah, well,
silly
more
idea,
efficient,
yeah.
clearly. But the difference is that you
understand,
can't personalize those individual streams from an advertising perspective, and it just doesn't address the consumer quite as well as an IP stream. So the challenge here is when you start to look at converting all of that broadcast kind of tech into IP streaming tech, you have orders of magnitude more network needed. And we're starting to see that creep in here where even broadcasters are looking at converting everything to streaming. And we're saying, okay, now we're going to need orders of magnitude more. And by the way, the video quality is rising. And we're getting new types of content with augmented reality and virtual reality and gaming and so on. So there's still a lot of innovation to happen in the network.
In the bandwidth space.
And
then I really have to answer my last question, otherwise we won't. Yes.
Just one comment on this, that I think as operators we need to think about this. We are actually solving that problem for our OTT content providers.
Right.
If we are able to solve it for them with network changes, with content delivery networks and so on, we should be more than up to the challenge of actually solving the same problem for us, for our own streaming services. And this was what we recognized a few years back, that we needed to do this to be on the same level with those players. And by the way, if we're already changing and optimizing our network for them, we should better do it for us than for them.
Right.
All right, AI, just last question, visions, 1 minute each. If we look ahead a little bit, we can see that AI will affect every level of the media industry, like it will affect most other industries as well, from production to, putting stuff out there, to doing adapted language version in which the original actor just speaks Chinese suddenly and you can export your things everywhere and every individual person can choose in which language they want to see things, whatever. Where do you guys think what's the area you are most interested right now for the world you are in, and where will it go? And I'm just going to give all of you the chance and you have 1 minute each. So there you go.
I already mentioned the element of Gen AI. I mean, with the challenge of the multiple sources and obviously the different segments you're facing, you could imagine a world where you have a totally personalized experience, but that can only be achieved if you use the data in an effective way. But first of all, as we said, if you are able to acquire the data and use it in an effective way within an AI environment to serve the best possible discovery. So we've always been doing a lot of work over the years by bringing the different sources of content from the original, TV, recording, replay, VOD, SVOD apps, and now gaming and so on. But this is very complex, so you've got to actually leverage. Otherwise, as I said, the risk is the operator ends up being not relevant anymore, and we're here to help the operator to stay relevant.
Stay relevant by being super detailed in your data collection, because that will help with whatever comes next.
Yeah.
For us, it's definitely in the operation. We have lucky to control also the gateway in the home, so we pull data all the time. It's again data, aggregate data, correlate with the NPS, etc., customer satisfaction. And through AI today, we can control capillarily every single piece of the network to improve the quality of service. Machine learning AI. So more than the user experience, there will be the innovation. It's very much to operate the services the best, proactively and reactively in a way that the customer has the best experience.
There was a mobile conference, also Dataxis last week, that I moderated a session where one of the mobile operators had already replaced the customer service with AI-generated voices. It was a test, but they didn't tell the consumers didn't complain, and the customer service center was just running by
We're
itself.
a step a little bit below. We are using OpenAI and ChatGPT to instruct the agent to say the right thing. We have 4 languages in Switzerland, so it will be very good to compose the reaction.
And besides the quality part, in a product-centric way and looking at TV, very much localization and product discovery. Localization we run on multiple markets, multiple languages. So if we can have a much easier path in terms of localizing for voice, for UI, for metadata, that's what we can get with AI. Second one is discovery. And we have already discussed this. How do we create these personalized experiences based on discovering through customer interactions, through an interactive interaction with the customer, and then customize product experiences that are different for everyone. And this is both for content as well as the UI. So one of the things that we have started to do, but there is so much to do in this area, is actually have a fully customized UI, but not by you because you are selecting options, by us automatically as you interact with the UI. So all UIs start the same, all the UIs become different because you interact with the UIs in a different way.
I think the obvious thing is, like anything that involves a decision, you can infuse AI into, and it can optimize that decision. But looking down the road, I think some of the amazing parts when you look at ChatGPT has been that people can just ask an amorphous question and get a detailed answer back. And so when we start to look at networks as an example, just asking a simple question like, how do I optimize my network? AI could be used to actually provide you with substantive guidance back, right? And actually looking into the network and understanding the traffic and understanding consumer patterns and providing a substantive response that
and
gives
especially also predicting. I mean, that's
well, exactly. So we always think of it, transactionally. Machine learning and things like that are good at taking large data sets and exposing information that could be used to make decisions. But there are more human-like questions that we would get as a vendor. We might get a question like that: how do I optimize my network? That could be something that you could ask AI, and with the right data set underneath
feed the right data into it.
Yeah, you may be able to get guidance back that actually helps you tune and optimize and improve the cost efficiency of delivery.
So for me, certainly metadata generation, optimization, matching, AI plays one core role in the future. To structure data, to improve data, this is the one area which is certainly very interesting. And secondly, and you mentioned that with human interaction, evolving user interfaces to a more conversational, more personal, more human-like interface is certainly on the product experience, discovery part, something which has a huge potential, in my point of view.
All right, it feels like AI is a sort of a 10-year leap forward, and after optimizing everything we do already and making it better, there might also be completely different things starting to happen. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.